Okay, welcome back to Module 3. This is the final part, Part 5. And really all this is an overview of your main assignment for this week's action pack. You don't have nearly as many things to do as you did last week, thank goodness, but it's a pretty involved assignment. So I did want to go over that with you. So I'm actually going to pull it up here. Okay. So it is a cost of living calculator. So here's what you're gonna do. It's pretty clear. I mean, the instructions are pretty clear, but I still did want to go over it with you. So for the first step, you're going to do the reality check evaluation, which is at this link here. So you're gonna go there. What's really cool about this is you're gonna put in what you expect, and it's gonna tell you how much that costs. What I mean by that is this. It's going to ask you questions like, do you want to live in the city or in the suburbs? Do you want to live with roommates or without, by yourself? How often do you want to eat out? So it's going to ask you what you expect and what you want. And then it will tell you how much money you need to bring in every month to pay for that lifestyle, which is so great. When you crunch the numbers, when you know your numbers, there's so much power there. Because a lot of times we have expectations, and then, we get a job and we start living that expectation, but then the job doesn't quite cover, and we're like, oh no. When you don't know your numbers, you can't make plans. You can't, do anything. When you know your numbers, then you can actually start taking action to make things happen. So this is really, really powerful. This is really great. So you will know how much you need to make to be able to live the way that you want to live, or the way that you expect to live, or whatever it is, okay? Then make sure you make note of that, okay, and bring it to our call. Next, you're gonna log back into Focus to explore. Now, by this point, you should have completed all the assessments, all right? And what I'm going to have you do is combine them and get matched with occupations. Now, we're going to go into this in more detail next module, but for the purposes of this exercise, I want you to pick out one. For any reason, it doesn't matter. Pick out one and make note of its average salary. Okay, that's what we're going to use to do the rest of the assignment. Now you're going to start to calculate the monthly budget for that occupation, okay? So you're going to subtract taxes and Social Security from your annual salary using the chart attached. So you will see here's tax rates and Social Security, okay? So you'll calculate that and remove that, and that's going to be your take-home pay, all right? Then you're going to divide that take-home pay by 12 and by 52. So when you divide it by 52, you're going to get what your weekly income is. You can use that to compare to the reality check, because the reality check tells you in, weekly income, okay? But I also want you to take your annual take-home pay and divide it by 12, because that will give you your monthly, and that's how you're going to calculate the budget, okay? Now, you remember the 50, 20, 30 rule. So you're going to take that monthly income and go ahead and divide it out for living expenses, saving versus investing, and for spending, okay? Now, once you have the numbers for that, you can then start actually taking a look at how far that will go. I want you to start with your town, your city, wherever it is that you live, okay? Think about, if I lived here and this was my salary, where would I want to live? Where could I afford to live? That sort of thing, okay? Oh, by the way, I also have not only your tax rates, but you'll see in here living expenses. So when we talk about 50% is for fixed income, for living, or for fixed expenses, for living expenses, what does that mean? What does that include? And these are this page here tells you. So this is all of the stuff that would be included in that 50%, okay? So that 50% needs to cover all of these things. I will say, just really quickly as a side note, healthcare. So a lot of people include, there's some of this is kind of opinion. Like, for example, some people would say that a gym membership would be in spending, not in expenses, but I consider that healthcare, because like I was talking about in the last one, you know, your food, your fitness, all that kind of stuff, taking care of your body is preventative medicine. So I think of that as a healthcare expense. I mean, that's something that you can decide for yourself. You can debate with people about for yourself. But those are just kind of the things to think about when you're assigning all of this, okay? And if you get to the point where you're doing this budget and you're like, whoa, this salary really doesn't cover, you know, doesn't cover my expenses, then here are some ideas for how you could save or cut back or whatever you could do to make it fit better. Okay. And of course, people dip into spending, people dip into savings. That happens, you know, because not everything covers the way that we want to. But that may not be the case for you. That's part of this exercise, is to see that. Okay. So see where you would be able to live in your city and how you would be able to live in your city based on the average salary for the income, for the occupation that you chose, okay? The last part of this is to compare that across the country. So you're gonna visit this website here, and this is really cool. What you do is you put in, you know, how much you make, or in your case, the salary that you're using for this, and where you live. And then you pick another city somewhere else in the country, and it will tell you, it will calculate how much you would need to make to have the same standard of living in that city. So to live exactly like you do where you are now, but in that city, okay? It's really easy, just with a click of a button. So first I want you to do this. I want you to compare it with Manhattan and San Francisco. You can do both if you want to. I mean, it's just a click of a button, or you can pick one. So first, the two most expensive places to live in our country, okay? Then I want you to do the same thing, but compare it with Tupelo, Mississippi, or Harlingen, Texas, the two least expensive places to live in our country, okay? And then finally, if your parents are open to it, ask them to plug in their salaries in this calculator and see how much you would need to make to live in these other places or anywhere in the country. This can just be fun. Y'all can just do this for fun. So that's pretty much everything, okay? Now, I encourage you to engage your parents in this activity as much as you want to. The only thing I ask you to do is just write down here at the bottom. But if you would like them to go through this whole process with you, you know, you don't have to sit down here and do this assignment by yourself. You can do it with somebody else if you want to. And this can be a great way to start some conversations with your parents. If they're willing to go into detail with you about how they do this, that's a great conversation to have. They don't have to. But, you know, at least do this last one, okay? So that's the assignment. You should have everything that you need to get it done. And then bring it to our call and we'll talk about it more. All right, that's the end of Module 3. I'll see you in our call.